know about we can increase and we can increase the high immunity for the people, and also we can uh, make the medical tools clearly. Okay, thank you. I will back to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Okay. Delegate of Lebanon, are you with us?
Yes. Oh, okay. Chair and delegates. Lebanon is a home to a huge number of refugees, for a total of 1 refugee for every 4 nationals. Lebanon would like to shed the light on the importance of vaccination in the refugee camps. Since there are already 12 refugee camps and the respected area of the country does not allow the development of proper camps dispersion, the delegate of Lebanon would like to urge an immediate development of an effective vaccine to prevent an uncontrollable outbreak. Every day, there are more than 10,000 newborns and moms, and if those newborns are not subjected to good vaccination, there might be a threatening crisis that would end the lives of all the people in the camp. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Finland, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Okay. Greetings, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. I hope you have a good day amidst the pandemic. This is the of Finland speaking. Esteemed delegates, in regards to vaccine for COVID-19, the hot pill to swallow is that we have a very limited resources. And taking the cost and resource constraint, I believe we should fully maximize and effectively use the available resources. So, Finland honestly believes that research for this vaccine should be concentrated on just a few countries. Concentrate on just a few countries who have a low cost on research, while also sending them our best researchers to support them. That is in order to ensure that we obtain the vaccine in the shortest time possible, and for the developing country to be able to afford it. And as a part of the non-aligned movement, which consists of 120 more countries, I know that an expensive.
Thank you, delegate. Your time has elapsed. Thank
Can
you.
I my sentence?
Delegate, you already completed your sentence. Thank you.
Okay.
Delegate of Somalia, are you with us? Delegate of Somalia.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, delegate, you have the floor.
Thank you. The Somali Republic of Somalia and first acknowledge the importance of a vaccine as a part of family and public health. Vaccines prevent the spread of contagious and dangerous deadly diseases. And the first vaccine was discovered way before. And if we take the smallpox vaccine or the polio, the chickenpox, and we acknowledge deeply that the vaccine is a survival. Without a vaccine, millions could die and without a treatment. And Somalia urges the advanced countries that are developing to share the real-time scientific or research and to each other, so that everyone gets the chance to produce a treatment or to present the medicine for themselves or for the neighbor countries. Thanks so much. That's it.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Austria, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, delegate, you have the floor.
Delegates, let's understand that while we do recognize the importance of vaccine and how immediately we need it, we need to understand that there hasn't been a proper system developed throughout the world for the vaccine to be developed. We think that there can be we need to propose a framework that includes this committee and World Health Organization to collaborate in order to improve accountability and inclusivity. In that, we propose that trials to be conducted for the vaccine to be safe, and also that it is useful not to cause more problems and diseases. We would also urge the member states to fund in more for research and development, but also a way of producing the vaccine on a huge scale that must be developed for billions for the billions of potential doses. We also need medicine regulators to approve it before it can be given, because we understand that some
Thank you, delegate. Thank you. Delegate of Mexico, are you with us?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, delegate, just give me a second. Yes, delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank Chair. So, dear delegates, there are too many factors, aspects, and more that this crisis brought. Issues to tackle such as gender, violence, food, security, refugees, vulnerable communities, the vaccine, and, well, all the health factors. However, every nation has their own proposals to tackling one of these issues, and, well, all proposals are valuable and equally important. However, we won't get anywhere if we don't work together and we don't collaborate to tackle each by one of these issues. So, the delegation of Mexico proposes to tackle as first instance the correct distribution, production, and test of the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine, since it's important to be handled with all transparency and to be equal distributed to all
Thank
countries.
you, delegate. Thank you. With that, delegates will be taking the last two speakers for this caucus. All those wishing to speak, please raise your hands. Note that if you do text me, I will not recognize you, so do not go through the process of doing that. Delegate of DRC Congo, followed by the delegate of United Kingdom. Just give me a second, delegates. Okay, delegate of Congo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The world is very different today. For man holds in his hand the power to give human life and take human life. That is why it is extremely pertinent that we do develop a vaccine and we do arrange a global ceasefire for all communities so that we may pour all of our efforts into developing our vaccine. There are three main reasons why developing a vaccine is most important. Number one, so that we can counter the threat of the coronavirus without having to impose lockdowns and restrictions. Number two, because we feel it is extremely important that we recognize the fact that these lockdowns and these quarantines are really bad for the economy, and they don't fulfill the criteria of human rights as well. And thirdly, because we believe it would save human life. We feel while we are talking about this vaccine, we also need to talk about making the vaccine free and fair for everybody, and that is what the non-aligned movement is going to stand.
Thank you, delegate. Thank you. Delegate of United Kingdom, are you with us?
Hello?
Yes, delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. As the UK government, we acknowledge the importance of finding a solution to the problem that we're facing today. So what we did is we created interventions to support research and development, investment in both domestic and international research related to COVID-19. It also called on industries to support the response to manufacturing ventilators. And then as a government, we made a fund of 20 million, which was put in place, which was allocated in two pots. So the first focused on vaccines and therapeutic interventions, and the second focused on diagnosis and understanding of COVID-19. Projects already funded include trials of new COVID-19 vaccines, repurposing existing treatments for COVID-19, developing antibodies that target COVID-19, and testing approved drugs. So all these measures basically try to reduce the risk of facing so many deaths, as the UK is already having 40,000 plus deaths as of today. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. On that note, the point for this moderated caucus has elapsed. Before we go on to continuing, Abhiraj, anything you want to add to the committee before we take motions?
We have two press releases. If we can, read them out in the committee.
Yeah. Just give me a second. I'll share them on my screen. The ones we just saw, right?
Yeah. I think one is by Afghanistan and the second is by the ECOWAS countries.
Just give me a second. Okay, so we have just a minute, delegates. So delegates, we have a press release and a directive, which means we have an update to the committee and we have okay, wait, delegates, just give us a second. Just hold on. Our apologies, delegates. We'll just be coming back in a second. Delegate of United Kingdom, could you mute yourself, please? Okay, so our apologies, delegates. There was a technical error. Anyways, Abhiraj, could you continue, please?
Yeah, all right. So we have a couple of things that we'd like to tell committee at this point. We have a couple of directives as well. All right. So the first directive is from Afghanistan, and in this directive, Afghanistan is basically asking or urging the United States and the NATO to find solutions for the crisis and not get into unmeasured reactions, quote unquote. They're also asking both parties to not destroy the unity of the world and not accelerate the tensions, and they basically want both parties to end the COVID-19 pandemic together. So basically, Afghanistan is calling for global unity on the problem and asking the United States and NATO to not further escalate the situation. That is the first update we have from Afghanistan.
Delegates, you can take a look before I share the other screen. This is basically the part which is new. The other part is just the crisis update that was introduced yesterday. I hope everyone has acknowledged that. We will be continuing. Yes, Abhiraj, you can continue.
Right. The second directive comes from the Kingdom of Morocco, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, and Niger. And it states that in reaction to the current WHO and American CDC teams in action in Congo in order to investigate a possible resurgence of Ebola, Ghana, Gambia, just give me a second, Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Niger support the membership of Morocco in the ECOWAS. So Morocco is not a member of the ECOWAS, and they call for support towards towards the fact that Morocco should be a member of the ECOWAS, right? Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Niger call for an urgent ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State session to vote on the Moroccan membership in ECOWAS. Fair enough. All of those same countries.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Delegates, just take a note of this, and I'll share the other one again because a few delegates couldn't see properly. So just.
All right. All right. So all of these countries plus Morocco support the mobilizing of ECOWAS troops in Congo. And all of these countries and Morocco request that the WHO and the American CDC teams in Congo to be joined by a scientific team designated from ECOWAS. So essentially, all of these countries, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, and Niger, want Morocco to be a member of the ECOWAS, of which Morocco is not a member. They're calling upon a high-level meeting of the ECOWAS to consider a vote on Moroccan membership. And if Morocco becomes a member, Morocco would help mobilize the ECOWAS troops in Congo, and and call upon a scientific team from the ECOWAS to join the American CDC investigation in Congo. That is the update.
Delegates, I hope you've acknowledged this update. I'll be sharing the other screen again for those of you who couldn't see it properly. These are the directives or actions that the delegate of Afghanistan or the country of Afghanistan has proposed for the United States and the NATO. You guys can take note of that. So delegates, usually what happens is that directives are either introduced in the form of updates or are voted upon if they're from the whole committee or blocks or something. But the reason we introduced them as, say, kind of like updates, they weren't exactly updates, but they were updates for the committee as a whole, is because both of the directives only called for action and did not actually tend to have reached the point where there could be updates for the committee or the crisis. So that is the reason this was introduced the way it was. Before we continue, I hope you've all seen the update again. Before we continue, we just like to make sure that you guys have acknowledged the formats we sent you in the group for the three things: the press release, a public directive, and a private directive. Just make sure you guys look through that and understand what all three of them are before you introduce new press releases or directives. And on that note, there Is there anything one has to ask? Also, before we go into that again, delegates, we will be giving you a 10-minute break before we continue, just for the sake of you guys having a break, because then we'll have continuous session before the joint crisis committee, because the last two sessions are quite critical and they need to have, we cannot have interruptions during them. So you guys can have a 10 to 15 minutes break now. It is, so according to Pakistani time, it's 12:40. You guys can have a break till 12:50, and at 12:50 you guys should be in the meeting if you're not here already. And by the time it's 12:55 or 1 in Pakistani time, we'll start. Okay. So are there any points or motions on the floor? Delegate of DRC Congo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The delegation of Congo would like to raise a moderated caucus to discuss the recent
Delegate, we're looking for a motion to suspend session.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to suspend debate.
That motion is in order and passes by the discretion of the days. Delegates, you're now in a break. You guys can stay in the meeting and mute yourselves. And you should be back within the next 10 minutes and we will restart as soon as we can. So delegates, I hope you're all back. If not, just let the other delegates know that we're resuming session. Okay, delegates, are there any points or motions on the floor? Delegate before, so delegates, usually I don't do that, but I'll just let you know. Whenever we're back from a session break, the days is always expecting the first motion to be the motion to resume session. So I should not have to spoon feed these things to you guys. Just make note of this, okay? Okay, so having said that, are there any points of motions on the floor? Delegate of United Kingdom, to what point do you rise?
Wait a second. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, delegate.
I would like to put the motion to resume the session, please.
That motion is in order. All those in favor? Delegates, at this particular point in time, we need 34 votes to pass a motion. Kindly make note of that. That is very well requested. And I kid you not, I'm not going to pass a motion with the discretion of the days now. We're at 30 votes here. Do you want the resumption of the session to fail? Because I'll gladly do that. I have no problem.
I think most likely people haven't returned, probably.
Well, probably. So we have 30 votes. Okay, this motion passes, delegates. Are there any other points of motion on the floor? Delegate of United Kingdom, could you mute yourself, please?
Sorry, yeah.
Delegate of Belgium, to what point do you rise?
Can you hear me?
Yes, delegate, I can hear you.
Thank you. The delegate of Belgium would like a moderated caucus on data handling and discussions of recent updates, with each delegate having 1 minute per delegate and the total of time 15 minutes.
Delegate, just amendment here. Could you amend your time to 10:01 because we do not have a lot of time before we have to proceed with the other procedures?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, delegate, that motion is in order. Are there any other points or motions on the floor, delegates? Delegate of Sweden, to what point do you rise?
I rise on the motion of developing the vaccine and herd immunity about COVID-19.
Delegate, that motion has already been discussed. Regarding the vaccines, we've already discussed a lot, and the days believe is that this motion will be ruled out of order.
Okay. Now, can I change?
Yes, delegate, you can rephrase or change your motion.
I want to speak about herd immunity and precaution to be taken for COVID-19.
That motion has already been discussed in the previous moderated caucus, delegate.
I think
Yesterday, this motion was discussed yesterday.
Okay.
Are there any other points? Is there any other motion you'd want to introduce to the committee?
No, not yet.
Okay. Delegate of Mexico, to what point do you rise?
Point of
The
parliament.
delegate of Chad, could you mute yourself, please?
Point
So
of parliament.
goes. Yes, delegate. Yes, what
Point
is
of
your point?
Oh yeah. So the question of the delegation of Mexico is to ask the chair to what considers the chair pertinent to raise a motion to talk about.
So delegates, even though it would be very well spoon feeding you all what we expect right now, but okay, I'll let you know. The days either expects you guys to discuss the recent crisis updates that were just introduced before the break, or you guys can talk about something that has not been discussed yet, maybe the solutions, maybe the aspects that have not come into the limelight as of yet. I hope you understand what I mean by that.
Yes, chair.
Okay, so do you have a motion, delegate?
Yes.
Yes, you can introduce it.
A motion to open a moderated caucus with a topic on stake to talk about the vulnerable communities in the crisis.
That is motion is in order. Delegate, what are your time parameters?
12 minutes, 15 minutes.
Delegate, we can entertain a motion for not more than 12 minutes at this point.
Okay, so the time that the chair considers pertinent.
So that would be 12 minutes, delegate. Are there any other points or motions on the floor? Delegate of Brazil, to what point do you rise?
Oh, I'm sorry. My hand was raised, but I didn't intend to make
It's
any
okay,
point.
delegate. No problem with that. Delegate of Iraq, to what point do you rise?
Hi. I
Yes,
would like
delegate.
to raise a motion under the name of conflicted transformation.
Delegate, could you repeat?
I would like to raise a motion under the name of conflict transformation.
Conflict transformation. Delegate, what are your time parameters?
10 minutes. 1 minute per each.
Okay. That motion is also ended in order. We'll be taking one last motion. All those wishing to raise a motion, please raise your hands. We shall take a motion from the delegate of Bangladesh. Yes, delegate of Bangladesh, to what point do you rise? Delegate of Bangladesh, are you with us?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, delegate.
Right. Mental health breakdown during COVID-19 and the challenges.
So basically the effects of mental health, effects of COVID-19 on mental health, right?
Yes.
Delegate, what are your time parameters?
10.
Okay, thank you, delegate.
Okay, thank you.
That motion is also in order. Now we'll start voting in order of precedence. We'll be first voting on the motion raised by the honorable delegate of Mexico, that is to discuss the vulnerable communities in the crisis at hand, for total time 12 minutes, individual speaking time 1 minute. All those in favor, please raise your hands now. At this particular time, we need 35 votes to pass the motion. We'll be giving you 1 minute before we pass or fail this particular motion. This motion tends to fail, delegates. We'll now be voting upon the motion raised by the honorable delegate of Belgium, that is to discuss data handling and recent crisis update. For time parameters 10, individual speaking time 1 minute. The dais endorses this motion. Delegates, we need 35 votes to pass, 34 votes to pass a motion. Please raise your hands if you want to vote on this motion. Delegates, I'm giving you 1 more minute because this motion is barely failing. Do you guys want to fail it? This motion passes, delegates. So the motion at hand is to discuss data handling and the recent crisis update. For a total time of 10 minutes. Having said that, the delegate of Belgium, would you like to be the first speaker or the last speaker for this caucus?
First speaker, please.
Okay, delegate. You have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair. Fellow delegates, the delegate of Belgium believes that governments should outnumber the count of deaths caused by COVID-19. And the reason behind is that the number of counts is to make states aware of the second wave and potentially third wave, or should the delegates say an infinite number of waves until a vaccine is prepared for practice. Until then, the government should outnumber the count of deaths because in this way we can prepare beforehand. Thank you, Chair. And delegate yields the time back to the Chair.
Delegate, there are no yields in a moderated caucus. Thank you. That delegates will be recognizing speakers for this moderated caucus. All those wishing to speak, please raise your hands now. In case anybody who joined just now, I'll let you know the caucus is data handling and the recent crisis update. It would show on the very left corner of your screen. So on that note, we'll be recognizing speakers, delegate of Niger, followed by delegate of Nigeria, followed by the delegate of South Africa, followed by Philippines, followed by Chad, followed by delegates. All of you have spoken once, even since the morning. Lower down your hands, even once. I repeat, delegates, if you've spoken even once since this morning, lower down your hands. Okay, so followed by the delegate of Netherlands. 1, 2, 3. Followed by Namibia, followed by France. Delegate 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last speaker for this caucus will be the delegate of South Sudan. Delegate of Niger, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes, delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Okay, good day, Chair. I'm of the opinion that it's important that the data for every pandemic, not just coronavirus, should be recorded. And also the safety of the citizens and those who are infected and those who are not infected should be put in storage, because it's only by these statistics that we can actually weigh the effect of both mortality and fatality rate of every disease. So I'm of the opinion that whenever we have any epidemic, whether it is significant to a country or to a continent or to the world at large, the data of both those who have recovered, the deaths, and those who are infected and active cases should always be a priority. not just for data cases, but at least to weigh and also to measure how our various efforts in curbing the pandemic has been effective over the particular time since when our first infection was first recorded until when eventually we don't have any active cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. With our Delegate of Nigeria, are you with us? Delegate of Nigeria? Do we have the Delegate of Nigeria? Delegate of Nigeria, are you with us? Since they are not here, which I presume, because delegates, I cannot wait for everyone. Delegate of South Africa, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Okay, good morning, Chair. I believe that data should be made available not just for posterity reasons, but also to the public to believe the pandemic is real. And they say that because they do not know of any cases, they can't believe what they do not see or hear. So making them understand the severity of the pandemic by making them know where the infections are from and how many people are infected will help people to be more careful. And even for future references, whenever a problem comes up again, there would be history, there would be data on how it was handled, how many people were infected, how many people survived, and things like that help people prepare for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Philippines, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you. Data gathering and sharing is important at these trying times. Republic of the Philippines believes that information will be the driver to finding key to our successes against the virus and any other diseases. With data, it will provide progress in fighting immediate vaccination, mobilize industrial machineries, and to address economic and financial crisis. With data, we can prevent further extremes that may affect us further in the post-pandemic virus. With this, we should create initiatives that will develop and rise assistance in far-flung areas and would help us to to secure other sectors in the society. This will also provide logistic bases to rural areas with enough data to meet
Thank you,
their
Delegate.
medical care expenses. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate of Chad, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor for 1
Okay.
minute.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think that when you are talking about data handling and the receipt crisis update, the most problem of this crisis is because of the data, because the data is not shared properly and in the good way. If everyone in the world have the information concerning this COVID-19, I think everything gonna be okay. But the problem is that if the United Nations have to handle the data, which means she has to share it with other countries, the government, the other aspect, so that we can maybe make come together and handle the case. If we are not united, we cannot handle this case. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
That is my
Delegate.
case.
Delegate of Netherlands, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Okay. According to the delegate of the Netherlands, it is crucial for the handling of this horrible crisis to be transparent about the numbers of cases and deaths and recovered, so that we have a clear overview about where help is needed. And the Netherlands is planning on doing this with an app, of course, in according with the privacy rules. But this is an example of how we can trace the COVID patients and to make the number of patients as low as possible. And so I would recommend all other countries to think about the option of apps or just accurate data, that they know how many patients there are.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Namibia, are you with us?
Yes, I am here with you, Chair.
Yes, Delegate, you have the floor now.
All right. Thank you, Chair, for having me. The delegate of Namibia would like to flag the fact that it is necessary for every nation to share its data, because that's what will help us, to tackle whatever problems we have in the human society. Let's not forget that we've been faced by the SARS epidemic before. And the reason we're having this coronavirus at this point is because the respected country, China, refuses to give the accurate information. If the information shared was present as at 2019 December, I think we would have been having a different news by now. Also, the Namibian government would also like to protect whistleblowers, because we could see that the man, who first told the world about the virus, got killed, and also in respect to the Afghanistan crisis, the Namibian government would like to.
Thank you, Delegate. Your time has elapsed. Delegate of France, are you with us?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you very much. The French delegation is concerned about the issues of the COVID-19 pandemic and how it is directly affecting the most vulnerable people in our society. And I'd like to say that as the COVID-19 pandemic starts hitting the most poorest and the most fragile countries, the vulnerability is about to be seen in a very stark contrast. Limited testing and reporting mean that we cannot know the full number worldwide. But the first cases of coronavirus among the IDPs have been officially recorded in countries such as Iraq and Burkina Faso. So the coronavirus has also forced border closures in the Sahel, in Africa.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of South Sudan, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to say the data handling is a very important thing, and when giving out the information about the crisis, we need to be accurate and not to alterate and manipulate the updates. So I would like to say it is very important to give correct numbers of recoveries and deaths in order to reduce the fear among the people and to give us some hope, like the thing can be handled. Yeah, so I guess that is it. Thank you.
We'll be taking 2 more speakers for this caucus. All those wishing to speak. Delegates, all those wishing to speak. Do note that we are discussing the recent crisis update that was presented before the break as well in this caucus, so kindly note that. Delegate of DRC Congo, followed by Madagascar. Delegate of DRC Congo, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we feel it is really important that we discuss the role of data handling within the conflict. We appreciate the fact that multiple previous delegates have recognized the fact that data handling is particularly important because we need to track where people are going, which people are affected, and how they can be saved. While we're talking about the recent crisis update, we need to understand the role of ECOWAS. We feel ECOWAS is an important member of the African community and it should be respected. While we do feel that their military help is not required as such, but they can send scientific teams in the spirit of diplomacy. The delegation of Congo will allow the fact that ECOWAS can send scientific teams for further places. We also feel the fact that ECOWAS should be a primarily regional organization. It should not involve other parties. While we do think that Morocco is a good party, it should be involved. But other parties such as France or other parties should not be included because it is specifically an African party. That is why we feel it is extremely
Thank you,
important.
delegate. Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Madagascar, are you with us?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yes,
So,
delegate, you have the floor.
the delegation of Madagascar. Yes, thank you, Chair. So, the delegation of Madagascar supports what South Sudan and DRC Congo just said for the fact that data handling is very important. How countries handle their data is a crucial part of the pandemic response. Information about people's health, movement, and interaction with others can be as important as the physical quarantines and lockdowns in combating the disease. So, data handling is very important in this fact. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. With that, delegates, the time for this caucus is elapsed. We will be proceeding in just a second. Also, before we start with the further procedures, Abhiraj, David, anything you'd like to add?
Not right now.
Nothing at the moment, I guess.
Okay. Just give us a second, delegates. Okay, so with that, delegates, we have a crisis update. Before we introduce that, is there a single question? Is there any question, delegate?
Yeah, point of parliamentary order. Is it possible?
Parliamentary inquiry, delegate.
Inquiry, pardon.
Yes, delegate.
Yeah, the delegate of Namibia would like to know when the issue that was told to us before the break will be discussed in respect to the Ghana, ECOWAS, and the Congo troops, in the.
So yes, delegate, that is what the previous mod was for. That was what the previous mod called for, which was the recent crisis update, which nobody felt like discussing. So how am I supposed to spoon feed you guys to do it?
No, I actually started it anyway. There was no enough time to conclude it. Anyways,
It's fine, delegates. You can discuss any updates simultaneously, so that's fine. On that note, delegates, we have a crisis update. Abhiraj, would you like to take over?
Yeah, give me a minute.
Also, delegates, kindly switch off your microphones if you're not speaking. Delegates, we have not opened the floor for motions or points at this particular moment, so whatever motion you have to raise, you'll have to wait.
Right. So indeed, we have a crisis update.
Eight minute, before you start, Abhiraj, just could you check WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Okay. Abhiraj, you can continue.
Right. So right.
I'll share my screen.
Yes.
Also, delegates, this update is from an anonymous source that cannot be leaked out. So we'll just be censoring some part of it. Kindly make note of that. With that, Abhiraj, over to you.
Right. We have this document, this classified document sent to us by an anonymous source originating somewhere in Europe. We don't know who the source is. We don't know where this has come from, but this is the only part of the document that we have received. So the whatever entity it might be, we have no idea, have found that there is a spread of a new virus in USA. Given the large number of protests happening in the United States of America, the rates of the cases are going to accelerate at high amount and are likely to affect 80% of the United States of America's population. The virus is known to be a mixture of Hendra, Nipah, Marburg, SARS-CoV-MERS, which is the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, and Ebola, all essential, previous, and prevalent viruses. So it's a conglomeration. That's what the source is saying. The evidence must be provided to all major US media outlets such as Fox News, the Washington Post, the NYT, etc., anonymously, that is through their tip lines. The vaccine towards it is only available by dash, some entity, in the whatever entity. However, due to it being expensive and can only be produced if large aid is provided to both countries, so there are two countries that are the entities, any offer of aid outside of whatever can be accepted. There also would not be any involvement of the WHO in this scenario, since the recent
parliamentary inquiry. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we can see who the private directive is from on the title.
Can you though?
Delegate, that doesn't matter because that is just.
Yeah, that doesn't matter because it's like
okay, that's
you do not know the source of the directive from what party it has come. You can know obviously which country that comes from. That doesn't matter here.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's the same word file. So like we kind of just didn't change the title of the word file, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So the vaccine
Chair,
towards it will be
point of
available
parliament.
by.
Delegates, you're
Yes,
not supposed to
delegate.
interrupt. Let the chair complete
Okay,
and then
fair
you
enough.
guys can ask your questions.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Okay, so due to it being expensive and can only be produced if large aid is provided to both countries. So we have two countries in question. Any offer of aid outside of Dash can be accepted. There also would not be any involvement of WHO in the scenario since the recent tensions in US withdrawal. Immigrants and asylum workers of Dash are the front lines of creating the vaccines, but they essentially would be assassinated. All evidence would be destroyed by the state's aides, but it should be shown in the media that they died due to the virus. So there's going to be a large scale elimination of healthcare workers in some area in Europe. That's all we know. Some country, some group of countries, we have no idea. But this is what is going to happen. And they claim that there is a new virus that's brewing in America. And it's a dangerous combination. So that is basically what the update is. Now, if you have questions with regard to the update, please ask your questions. Also, to clarify what Congo said, the title of the doc has nothing to do with where the update comes from or who it's directed by or like whatever. It has nothing to do with the, with that. It's just the same name of a word file that we were previously using. So we just, we just copied all the information and removed it and we started writing about this. So essentially the file name stayed. So don't worry about that. Go ahead if anyone has questions.
Yeah, point of parliamentary inquiry, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Delegate. Yes. Namibia.
Yeah, the delegate of Namibia would like to know if there's a time frame required for these negotiations to be made in terms of either finances or whatever kind of contribution that this particular sector or industry is requiring to provide the vaccine.
Delegate, we have received no threats per se. We haven't received any calls for ransom. So we do not know whether there's a specific time frame. But then again, since we are a crisis committee, we have the power to resolve all of these crises in a very limited time frame and in a very holistic manner. So I think that is what the objective should be here.
Okay. Lastly, I would like to know how reliable is this source? Because information, like we know, it's very important, and considering the fact that it pertains to the world power, the United States, the hegemony at this very moment. Okay. The Namibia delegates would like to know how reliable is this information and why is the source saying that the World Health should not know, knowing that the World Health was essentially made for this kind of task.
Right. So with regard to that, it's up to you to decide how serious the information is. We as employees of the United Nations have decided that it's serious enough to be brought forth in the middle of an emergency session that's already dealing with with a global pandemic and with global conflicts as they are. So if we consider it very serious to be brought in the middle of an emergency session, I believe that the entire committee should also resonate the seriousness of the update with us. So all we can say is that if the United Nations is a little perturbed by whatever's going on, I think all members of the UN should also be. That's number one. Number two, we as employees of the United Nations, we as chairs of this particular committee, we are very disturbed with the fact that the WHO should not be involved in the process. We would like to know how and why. We would want investigations to take place as to how and why the WHO should not be involved. So if the countries want to put forward some alternative view, if they want to put forward anything else at all with regard to the crisis, they are our guests.
Okay.
So
in conclusion,
Delegate, I'm so sorry to cut you off. I know you have more questions, but I'm sure other delegates also have other questions. So what I'll do is let's look at the other questions that the other delegates have. In case we have one or two questions, or if we have no other questions, we will come back to you. All right? Okay.
Point of parliamentary privilege.
Yes, delegate.
Thank you for recognizing me. we have this question whether we can discuss an issue affecting an independent country depending on an anonymous information, and also secondly, whether the veto power country have the ability to push away this or prevent this crisis information, whether it can stop the disclosure of this information through using the veto power.
Okay, so delegate, this is not the Security Council, so nothing called a veto power exists in the General Assembly. So there is no question of the veto power coming in and solving the crisis or veto power countries existing in any way. So that's that. And other than that, what was the other question? I'm so sorry.
They asked regarding whether they can discuss a moderated caucus that relates to one country in particular.
Right. So like in this case, the moderate caucus, like the framing of the proposal of the moderate caucus shouldn't include the name of America, because essentially America is only one player in this. America is we know that we understand that there is a new virus that's being brewed in America. That's all there is to it. So there is a new virus. So you can just raise a moderate caucus to discuss on the origins of the new virus, or on the origins on the on whether the information is verifiable. Have a debate on that. It's all up to you, really. It's all up to how you want to play it out in committee. Do we have any other questions?
Okay. On that note, delegates will now be taking motions. Are there any points or motions on the floor?
Prior to that, if you do have any questions with regard to the update, please feel free to ask them on WhatsApp or in the chat here.
Okay, so delegate of Austria, to what point do you rise?
The delegate of Austria would like to raise a motion to discuss the recent crisis update.
That motion is in order. Delegate, what are your time parameters?
15-1.
Delegate, the DACE expects a motion for 10-1, please.
All right, 10-1.
That motion is in order. Are there any other points or motions on the floor? Delegate of China, to what point do you rise? Delegate of China? Never mind. Delegate of, well, honestly, delegates, the DACE believes that this motion is as pertinent to the issue as possible, and this is the one that should be discussed. So the DACE moves on to voting upon the motion that was raised by the Honorable Delegate of Austria, that is to discuss the recent crisis update for 10 minutes, individual speaking time 1 minute. All those in favor. At this particular time, we need 36 votes to pass. No, we need, just give me a second, delegates. 4, 5. We need 35 votes.
Testing.
Delegates, we're expecting you to vote on this motion. The motion is to discuss the recent crisis updates, delegates. Delegates, I'll be giving you 1 more minute. We're barely failing this motion, barely. I repeat, the motion is to discuss the recent crisis update. Delegates, that motion passes. Delegate of Austria, would you like to be the first speaker or the last speaker for this caucus?
I would like to be the first speaker.
Just give me a second, delegate.
No, wait a second. I would like to be the last speaker.
Okay.
No, wait a second. I want to be the first speaker. I'm so sorry.
Delegate, could you just decide for once? Okay, you can be the first speaker, and now you cannot bail out of that.
Okay.
Okay, delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Delegates, let's understand that this virus is equally as threatening as coronavirus. Understand that this source may be anonymous. It is equally threatening for us to believe and also to wait for Donald Trump to tweet about it. Before that, we think we should work upon finding the evidence from these very US media's outlets and understanding how to solve it. But secondly, delegates, the vaccine that is available for this very crisis is going to be obviously be by China, because China is the one researching upon the bad virus and the combinations of these all virus from a very, very long period of time. And that is why we feel that it is not going to be any other country except China. And thirdly, we would like to propose a solution for this right crisis. We would like to propose that all European countries come together as United States of America.
Thank you, delegate.
Okay.
Delegate, you can always ask for permission to complete your sentence.
Okay.
But now you've already completed, so.
Okay.
Okay, so delegates, I'll be recognizing more speakers. We will be taking 9 speakers before the caucus ends. So we'll be taking the delegate of the United States of America, followed by Mexico, followed by Peru, followed by, just give me a second, Libya, followed by DRC Congo, followed by Italy. 1, 2, 3, 3 more speakers. Delegate of Zimbabwe, followed by Iran, followed by last speaker for this caucus will be the delegate representing Mozambique. So, delegate of United States of America, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes, delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Okay. We do not find the discussion on this information is pertinent, as it is clearly audacious and untrue. There is no evidence that viruses like this can mix and form a new gene, and I'm sure that many doctors would agree with me on that. The fact that there are no reliable sources makes it look more like an attempt to sabotage my country, as the United States is fighting for everyone to recognize China's responsibility for the COVID. And this rumor probably came from some company or authority Chinese, as they are trying to shift the focus from China's guilty. Our government works with transparency, and we recognize that protests can increase the number of contagions of COVID-19, and we are working to make it different. But this accusation was false. There is no new virus on the United States. That's all.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate of Mexico, are you with us?
Yes, Chair.
Just before you start, delegates, the thing is that since we're reaching almost the end of the debate as a whole and the committee, you guys need to understand that the reason some delegates might be getting a little more recognition is because they're the major stakeholders for the issue. So we have to give them recognition to present their side of the debate. Having said that, please do not spam the Zoom chat for recognition. This is not a GSL. You're not supposed to do that. I hope you guys recognize that. Yes, delegate of Mexico, you have the floor.
Thanks, Chair. So the delegation of Mexico is truly concerned as it borders to USA, and should invite the delegation of Canada to be concerned as well, since it is dangerous for our people to be close to this possible crisis, and further invites and requests the delegation of USA to generate prevention strategies so that this doesn't further spread. And well, if it is possible, as we don't have the exact information, and we don't know if it is true or not, uh, the delegation of Mexico really requests the American health agencies that they make certain research about these topics in general, so that everybody in this committee can be sure and can be calm about the topics. But since not, we will need the USA response. Thanks.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Peru, are you with us?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Delegate, you have the floor.
Thanks. Well, the delegation feels really concerned about these new updates of the crisis, because regarding this virus epidemic will be addressed as a multi-sectoral problem involving local doctors, civil society, schools, and government officials in matters of security, and not simply as a public health problem. So, as this delegation is located too in the continent of United States of America, this delegation would like to ask, how can you ensure that the information is true or false? Because we are concerned about it, and we will take measures of prevention and control, because it is a virus that is transmitted principally by contact. Well, we will apply infection prevention and control measures in hospitals and public entry and exit points, such as airports and ports. So this delegation is
Thank
really
you,
concerned
Delegate.
about.
Your time
Thanks.
has elapsed. Delegate of Libya, are you with us? Delegate of Libya? I do not see the delegate of Libya, so we'll just continue if they join later on. Delegate of DRC Congo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The non-aligned movement, aligned for humanity, not aligned for playing the blame game. The non-aligned movement has a duty to remain neutral and take a neutral action. We are not going to put blame on any side. We're not going to put blame on China. We feel by putting blame, we're only aggravating the situation. So what steps can we take by respecting the sovereignty of the USA? What steps can we take alongside that? Number one, verification of the virus by luring the makers of the virus by setting up a global ransom fund under the UN Secretary General monitoring. Number two, pressing of travel restrictions on all US citizens by states until it can be confirmed that this virus is or is not present. And number three, shutdown of all global biomedicine labs and bio research labs, except for those developing a vaccine for either the coronavirus, either the Ebola virus, or either, if this virus has been confirmed, this virus as well. We feel it is not okay to blame any side, and by doing that, we're only ruining
Thank you,
our
Delegate.
reputation as the United Nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Italy, to what? Okay, so Delegate of Italy, you're recognized. Delegate of Italy, are you with us? I do not see the delegate of Italy anymore. Delegate of Zimbabwe, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
The delegate of Zimbabwe is deeply disturbed by the update and the potential impact it could have on the loss of life. Firstly, we wish to acknowledge that protests cannot be blamed for a new virus emergence, as it ignores the bigger threats to health. The US COVID-19 measure has been rather described as less successful, mainly due to political leadership beforehand. Furthermore, we do acknowledge the crisis update, but question the reliability and validity of information. Moreover, with the outbreak of Ebola in Congo and previous studies showing the reemergence of other viruses, we're also disturbed that the World Health Organization will not be involved and put forward a proposition to investigate further tensions between World Health Organization and the US. We advise the Council to refrain from publicly sharing information till substantial information is gathered, as this could possibly be a threat to global peace and security. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Iran, are you with us? Delegate of Iran.
Hello.
Yes, Delegate, are you with us?
Yes.
Yes, Delegate, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Okay. About this outbreak, we never know where this outbreak came from, and there is still no definitive research on this outbreak. At least the world wants to learn from each other country, not to depend, not only benefit one party in the world while the other party is disadvantaged. Because we know where the country found the facing, there is the trade center. So I think instead of just looking for who makes the mistakes and making this worsening the condition, I agreed to strengthen solidarity and find solution together. Not the intention to depend, but to help each other solve this problem. Strengthen what research they have in each country so that they can meet one another and learn from each other. Thus, this outbreak should no longer be an economic problem, rather strengthen the economic as well as steps to eradicate a pandemic virus. Thank you. Enough.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Mozambique, are you with us? Delegate of Mozambique. Okay, so yes, Delegate of Mozambique, are you with us? Delegate of Iran, could you mute yourself, please?
Okay, sorry.
Delegates, all those wishing to speak, because we will be taking 3 speakers for this caucus, since 3 of the speakers weren't here. Okay, so yes, Delegate of Mozambique, is that you?
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, okay. Delegate, could you be a little louder, please?
Okay, good morning. On this
Delegate, we can still not hear you properly.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're now.
Can you hear me?
You have the floor.
All right. On this matter, one of the things we have to do is that we don't have to underrate this report, because this person may have some facts which, for one or two reasons, is not making clear, and it's a global issue. What I would just like to suggest is that more investigation should be done. Like the people of Mozambique, this is going to be life-threatening, because after last year, those recovered from a cyclone outbreak, Cyclone Idai and Kenneth, which about 2.2 lives were at risk. And the outbreak of coronavirus is, in fact, is something that the whole country is in panic. So such a thing like this, everybody should take it serious. In fact, I don't know why he said the WHO should not know, but I guess the WHO should be alerted, the United Nations, to take it serious, get more proofs, and I think that it will save lives. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Delegate. With that, delegates will be taking 2 more speakers for this particular caucus. All those wishing to speak, please raise your hands. Delegate representing Sweden, followed by Oman. Delegate of Sweden, are you with us?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor.
Okay, now I have to speak upon recent crisis update. Okay.
Like now till date, the corona is growing. It's fast as it can be, but we have to break it on by taking the measurement and taking social distancing from each other. Now we have to problem facing with economy, medical system, and education also. Like education system is also dumb in everywhere. Means some students facing the end of exam in between, and some of facing like their grades to come. Then he can taking admission to another grade. So like we have to taking measurement all of at once. So I think we have to open just one by one all the economy and education system, as well as like worship places like priests and churches and temples, mosques. So it is a necessary measurement to open and let people do open, go outside and taking safety measurement. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Oman, are you with us?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay, Delegate, you have the floor.
It's not a crucial concern if whether this news of a new virus is true or not. We need to take lessons from COVID-19. A new virus means a new health pandemic in global matter. The tension between United States and WHO stays internal issue. But here we are talking about a new virus that may go globally. So we should take proactive measures involving United Nations and its agencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. With that, delegates, the time for this moderated caucus has elapsed. Having said that, Abhiraj, are you with us?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so delegates, at this particular point in time, since we have only an hour before we have to end the debate and the committee sessions, we are expecting a directive from whatever block formations or whatever the committee wants to proceed with. Even if it's a unanimous directive, we're good with that for the crisis. And following that, we are expecting a draft resolution for the committee. So if you have any queries regarding all this, you guys can ask us now. We'll cater to them. Any queries, any questions, delegates?
I have a question.
Yes, Delegate of Belgium.
The delegate. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask that the directives and the points on the resolution are those same?
So, Delegate, the directive is specific to what the crisis called for. The crisis called for different things, right? So that is a different approach. The directive calls for action towards the crisis, and that is usually a short-term action at hand that could be, that could help you cope with the crisis at hand in the short run. Whereas the draft resolution will deal with every aspect of the committee, whether the crisis or not.
All right.
Anybody else, delegates?
Yes, I have a question. When
Yes,
we
delegate.
have sent you, well, one representative of our block have sent you the draft resolution, what happens next in that case?
Okay, so delegate, for a draft resolution, what we'll do is we'll go through the draft resolution. Once all the draft resolutions from the committee, say there are 2 draft resolutions or 3 draft resolutions in the committee, they will be introduced to the committee with a motion. If that motion passes, the motion for the voting on draft resolutions will be introduced, and then draft resolutions will be voted upon. And say any of them passes, the committee passes. If any of them fail, the committee fails. Whereas for the crisis, it is basically a little different. For the directive, what we'll do is we will vote on the directive, but if the directive fails, any of the directives fail, public directives, what happens is that the committee doesn't fail, that is on the draft resolution, but the crisis will fail. You'll fail to cope with the crisis that was introduced to the committee, the updates and all that. I hope that makes your point a little clear.
Yeah, thanks.
Delegate for Austria, do you have a question?
Sorry, no.
Delegates, any of you who have no questions, kindly lower down your hands so that we know
Yes.
who genuinely has a question. And delegates, do not cross talk. Kindly don't.
I have a question.
Yes, delegate of Chad.
Okay, I would like to know exactly why some other countries are coping with the crisis properly and the others cannot. What's the problem? The real problem.
Sorry, delegate. Can you repeat your question?
Okay, my question is that I would like to know why some other countries are coping with the crisis, with the pandemic properly, and the other country cannot.
Delegate, could you just ask that in the chat? We'll look into that. We're looking for questions that deal with the issue of the draft resolution or the directive.
All right, thank you.
So that said, any other questions regarding the draft resolution? Delegates, if you do not have any questions,
I
concerns,
have a
kindly lower
question.
down your hands. Yes, Delegate of Brazil.
Brazil would like to know if it can be a signatory for a resolution and a sponsor to another one, or if it only can be signatory in two resolutions.
Sorry, Delegate, could you repeat?
Brazil is currently being a signatory to one resolution and being a sponsor to another resolution. So Brazil would like to know if the country can do that, or if it can only be signatory for those resolutions.
So delegates, okay, wait, I'll share the format for the resolution and then explain it so that it is easier for you guys to understand. Just give me a sec. Meanwhile, anyone has any other questions, you guys can ask.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Delegate.
For example, if a bloc has submitted their draft resolution to the chairs, can we, for example, if we want to do a merger, can we submit a new draft resolution as well?
Yes, Delegate, you can do that. We haven't started looking into the draft resolutions as of yet, so you have the leverage to do anything you want to before we start with the introduction and everything.
Okay.
So, delegates, usually what the format for a draft resolution is, this is the format for the resolution we're expecting. So this is the GYMUN 2019 rules. I'll send you the link, or I'll send you this format in the group as well. So usually this is a format that you guys have to follow. You cannot go wrong with these formatting. So basically what you have to write on the top is draft resolution, say 1.1, 1.2, followed by the committee, which is your United Nations General Assembly emergency special session topic, what your topic is, then signatories. So signatories are supposed to be in alphabetical order. This is something this draft format doesn't follow, but we'll be expecting that you guys follow that. So signatories are supposed to be in alphabetical order. Then you have to start with your draft resolution, which includes the preambles. So preambulatory phrases are also given at the bottom if you have any issues understanding what the preambulatory clauses should be, and then followed by the operative clauses. So a preambulatory clause should be a phrase should be starting with should be in bold, whereas an operative clause should be underlined. I hope that you understand that. Also, a draft resolution cannot contain any full stops within the resolution unless you've reached the end. So the last clause can have a full stop. Otherwise, you use you use commas for preambulatory clauses. So at the end of every preamble, you use a comma, and then you use a semicolon at the end of every operative clause, right? I hope that you guys understand that. Also, there are no sub clauses to the preamble clauses. So you cannot use a sub clause or a sub clause in a preamble. You can use that in the operative clauses. I hope that you guys understand that.
Can you please zoom in in one of the examples of the
Yes,
clauses?
We'll send this whole draft resolution sample in the group.
Thanks.
Also, with regard to the preamps, like if you look at the guide, you will notice the preamps are recalling very specific articles or specific documents, right? So while that is recommended, I think we can be a little more lenient on that, and we'll understand if you just recall the entire like the document. For example, here it's written like you're recalling Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is like everyone has a right to receive like the rights to information. But if you're writing something about information, just write just recall the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the relevant clauses regarding information, or like whatever like that. Just keep it very simple, because a lot of you for this might be the first time you're writing a document, so it does get extremely complicated. So just go with the name of the document for now. We won't go into individual clauses, all right? But if you're recalling something from some particular document, just include the name of the document. That's all you have to do, all right? If you have any other questions, please do ask us. Yes.
Also, guys. Also, guys. If you some of you have sent us by email draft resolutions in the form of PDFs. If it's a PDF, we can't edit it and we can't add comments. So those of you who have sent us PDF, could you please resend us in the form of a Word document or Google Docs so that we can look at it and edit it?
Delegates,
also,
if any of you...
Yeah,
Naksh, go ahead.
Then just continue.
Okay, delegates, if any of you are using an Apple device, please convert it to a doc file and send it in, because like file conversions take a lot of time, like David has mentioned. So don't send in like a PDF or a pages file. Please convert like everything to doc and then send
Or
it
just
to us.
make a Google Doc and send it.
Yeah.
So delegates, regarding the ratio of the preambles to the clauses, it shouldn't be like a drastic difference. So like it's like you have 3 preambles and then you have 10 or 20 clauses. Keep it normal. There's no specific ratio that has been discussed in this particular guide for HMUN 2019, but generally just keep it very even and balanced, because that does matter.
Because the general practice for a preamp and an operative is that by calling upon one preamp, you're expanding upon the scope of the preamp in the operative. That's exactly how it happens. So if, let's say, one random example, if you want to talk about, let's say, the right to life, all right, and you want to extend that to, let's say, the population of refugees in some country, so you can recall the provisions of the right to life from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the like the covenants and everything, the Geneva Conventions. You can recall them in the preamble, and in the operative, you say we would like to extend these rights, or urging all member states to extend these rights to refugee populations or populations of migrants within the borders, etc., etc. So you understand that's how it works, right? You recall a concept and you expand the concept. So while there exists no particular rule for the ratio between preamps and operatives, this is the general practice that's technically taken into account.
Also, delegates, so in regard of, I believe that most delegates who are not from, say, the South Asian states, because we usually follow different formats and different rules of procedures in every country, right? Even Abhiraj and I have different takes on rules
Yeah.
of procedures of different things. So we do understand that there could be differences in how you guys go for the draft resolution formats and everything. But this is the, you say, a sketch format of what you should be following for this draft resolution. If you've already made it or if you've already worked on it, we will be giving you say almost 15 to 20 minutes unmod. You guys can format it, you guys can add more points, you guys can add anything that was just recently discussed and was not already added to it, and then you guys can introduce the draft resolutions. I hope that makes everything clear. If you have any questions, you guys can ask them. We are open to any questions. Delegate of DRC Congo, do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. It was raised from before. I'll lower it right now.
Yes, delegates, kindly lower down your hands if you do not have questions. Okay, so delegate of Bangladesh, do you have a question? Delegate of Iraq, do you have a question?
Yes.
Yes, delegate.
After finishing it, should we send it to you or read it?
No, you'll be sending it to us. Then once the motion for the introduction of a resolution passes, we will be sharing the screen. Then one of the delegates from who've created the draft resolution will be coming up and reading it, which we might not be entertaining, and we'll just read it ourselves because that would take a lot of time. So that is how it will be going.
Thank you.
Also, delegates, we have 50 minutes before we have to end the session. Also, before that, we were expecting directives for the crisis as well.
But like if you want, you can just go ahead and add those in the resolutions if you
Yeah,
wish to.
let's
Yeah.
do that. Let's do that because we have to keep track of the time, and we have to, because if we have to complete the session before 50 minutes, honestly, because after that we have to have a little bit discussions from within the dice. So we'll need you guys to leave this session before it actually ends. So that being said, we will be now entertaining motions for an unmoderated caucus or whatever time you might introduce. So are there any points or motions on the floor? Delegate of DRC Congo. That is the only person I see.
The delegation of the Democratic Republic of Congo would like to raise a motion for an unmoderated caucus for 20 minutes.
That motion is in order. Delegate, can we amend the time to 15 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, you might have to take an extension, but that's okay. But try to complete it in 15 minutes so we can have a whole introduction and then voting. Otherwise, we'll have to go with the voting directly. So on that note, delegates, we won't be taking any more motions. If you have any points or of inquiries, you can raise them now.
The delegate of Belgium was meaning to ask about the unmoderated caucus. How could we do that in this way? Because everyone would
So
be
delegate, how you can unmod is you can use the
different boxes.
WhatsApp group. You can use the WhatsApp group. You can
All
use
right.
this meeting as well. The chairs will mute themselves and we'll just have our own discussion. You guys can have your discussions in this meeting room and you can unmod that way. And if you form blocks or whatever you guys do, just make sure that so for the sake of blocks, just know that we expect you guys to have a clear idea of what your points of contentions are if you're forming different blocks. Because if there are no points of contentions, there is no point in forming any block, right? So just make note of that. Make sure you guys look into that. And on that note, we will be voting upon the motion raised by the honorable delegate of Congo. That is to have an unmoderated caucus for 15 minutes. All those in favor, please raise your hands. At this particular point, we need 33 votes to pass the motion. Also note that delegates, we shall not be, we expect you guys to pass this motion because you have to.
David, I think you can start counting.
Yeah, I'm having a poll. Don't worry, David doesn't have
Okay,
to.
okay.
That motion passes, delegates. You're now in an unmod for 15 minutes.
So basically the strongest block, just listen to me. I'm going to add the directive that I made into the resolution. Okay, so the person who wants to edit can just tell me, because I'm just going to add that very directive, and then you guys can edit it. Okay.
Okay, so guys, I think we're close to being very clear with these delegates. I am just thinking, okay, so what are the situations we working for the Joint Crisis Committee? Wow, there's still that shit.
Chair. Chair.
Yes, delegate.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Do we have to add sponsors?
No, delegate. Sponsors are not allowed in the HMAN rules of procedure, so you cannot add sponsors to the draft resolution.
Thanks.
Also, is the delegate of the United States of America available here?
Yes, I am.
Delegate, I received a draft resolution. I presume you've sent it?
Yes.
Delegate, it's not formatted according to the H1 guides. Could you format it?
Okay.
According to this sample resolution that I just sent in the group a little while ago, you can check that and make sure that your preambles and operative clauses are formatted according to that.
It's because the sponsors, it just it or
no, yeah. So delegates, the first thing is it has sponsors, right? That is not allowed in the HMAN rules of procedure. Secondly, your signatories are not in alphabetical order. Thirdly, your preamps are capitalized and are not bold, which is wrong. You have to have simple formatting and bolden them the way that the sample resolution states. And again, for the operatives, the same thing. You underline the operatives, do not capitalize them.
I am not understanding this well. Is there any possibility that you send it writing to me or?
Okay, could you just text me on WhatsApp and I send you the sample resolution because I don't know which number is yours.
Okay. Ela falou que o microfone.
So, Chair, just to confirm this, the preambulatory causes should
Sorry,
be
delegate, I
involved
cannot
and
hear
the
you.
operative should be underlined. So just
yes,
just
delegate. Yes, that is exactly how it's going to be.
Okay.
Also, the preambulatory clauses should end with a comma, and the operative clauses should end with a semicolon.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem, delegate. Delegates, the time for this unmoderated caucus has elapsed. Delegates, the time for the unmod has elapsed. In case you guys need more time, just one of you raise a motion for the extension of the unmod. Delegate of DRC Congo.
The delegation of the Democratic Republic of Congo would like to raise an extension for 5 minutes.
That motion is in order and passes with the discussion of the days. Kindly make sure that you do not take any more time than 5 minutes. Delegates, your time has elapsed. Kindly, I need all emails right now.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Could the dais please specify the exact wordings of the topic?
Exact wordings. That's what you asked?
Yes.
Yes, just give me a second, delegate. I'll tell you the exact wording in a sec. Yeah, just a second. So the exact wording is the formulation of a global action plan to tackle the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. I'll send it in the group as well, so for your convenience. Delegates, your time has elapsed. If you guys need time, just take an extension. Take permission from me.
We would like an extension for like 10 minutes.
Delegates, not 10 minutes, just 5 minutes. We have only 30 minutes before we end the session. So kindly get into that. And delegates, once these 5 minutes are done, I expect to have your draft resolutions in my inbox. So be quick. Delegates, the time for this unmoderated caucus has elapsed. Kindly send me your draft resolutions now. I won't be entertaining them any later. And no more exceptions, delegates. I'm giving you 3 minutes to send me your draft resolution.
Chair, can you please share your email address?
Sorry?
Can you please share your email address?
I'll post it again in the group. You can take it from there.
All right. Thank you.
Delegates, I'm expecting you guys to send me your draft resolutions within the next 2 minutes. How many blocks do we have, delegates?
I think we have 3 blocks, but we don't know of any contentions between those blocks.
So I have received 4 draft resolutions as of yet.
I just sent the last version of the resolution that the delegation of UK last sent throughout the whole debate.
Okay, delegate, that is acknowledged. David, do we have you with her? Do we have you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so delegates, again, I've received 4 draft resolutions, 5, well, no, 4, it's 4. And I received 4 draft resolutions right now. I hope we have only 4 draft resolutions for the conference and for the committee. So anyone who's not here, just let them know that they need to be here for the voting procedure. Okay, so just give me
Please, can you check if you have received mine?
Delegate, what is your email address? Okay, yes, I received 2 just now.
Okay. Under the name of Rose.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
How many signatories were we needing?
Delegate, we've not set a certain limit as long as you have like enough signatories to pass the resolution. So
Okay.
like even if you have like 10 signatories, that's okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so delegates, the first draft resolution that I received was, so delegates, all of you have made a mistake Well, that's not a mistake. I'll cater to that. That's technically on me. So the thing is, anyways, we'll just start in a second. Also, delegates, it is not the United Nations General Assembly electronic special session, it is emergency special session.
Oh no.
It's okay, I'll just change that. Don't worry, delegate.
Oh, it wasn't of my, well, the resolution of my blog. I just said, oh no.
It's okay. The whoever sent this was changing it, so don't worry, delegate. We will be doing that. I get why they would have written that because, well, we're having a virtual conference, right? Okay, so David, the thing is, we'll go with every draft resolution together before we take a motion for the introduction. Until then, delegates, if any of you are not here, and if you know anyone who's not here yet, kindly make sure to let them know that we are going to start. So the first draft resolution that I received is the signatories are Argentina, Austria, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Finland, and these countries. Whose draft resolution is this? Like, which block is it? Who sent it to me? Just tell.
Could you share it on the screen, because I'm the signatory of more than one resolution as well.
Yeah, I'll just share. Just give me a second. Just let me go through them. So this is the one we received the first one. So this is the draft resolution 1.1, followed by, which was the next one I received.
If it is a mail from, like, starting with numbers.
Yeah, so delegates, the thing is, what happens is that for any draft resolution, what we do is that we number them and they're voted upon in that order, right? So for that, we need to know who sent which draft resolution specifically, right? So that is what I'm trying to do here.
I
Because
sent it this one.
yes, delegate, I know which one you've sent. I just numbered it.
Oh,
that was the
okay.
draft resolution 1.1. Then we have the draft resolution that I received from Maronissa. So that is the draft resolution 1.2.
It's just that for our resolution, it can be very, like, confusing because some people send it.
I'll be sharing that on my screen. Just give me a second.
Oh, thanks.
I just need to go through them before I share them. So yeah, that's how we're going to do this. And then we have, so delegates, I've received 2 draft resolutions in the form of PDF files, but it's okay. I'll just switch them into. Whose draft resolution is this? Delegates, how come we have 5 draft resolutions in an emergency committee? I don't get it. I really don't. So, okay, I get it now. We have received the same draft resolution from 3 different people.
Yeah, that was what I was talking about. So it can be confusing.
Yeah. So it's fine. I'll just look into that. Don't worry.
Yeah, going with the latest one because I feel like we missed signatories which we had to add and then resend it back again.
Yeah, the latest one.
Yeah.
There are a lot of delegates in our blog, and it was really confusing who was sending it at the last moment.
And actually, we're going to read more signatures that were not able to be written at the moment.
It's okay. It's completely fine, delegate. Okay, so the one I'm going for, in case there were certain people who weren't in the signatories and wanted to be in, when I call out your names, just let me know if you want. Once I've called out all signatories, let me know if you want to be added to that particular resolution. So we have, yes, delegate, go on.
I'm part of parliamentary inquiry. Could the draft resolutions be shared on the chat as well so we can get an overview of the other blocks?
Yes, delegate, we'll look into that. We're not so sure if we want to send them into the chat, but we will make sure to share them on the screen. Okay. So as of now, I have 4 draft resolutions. Delegate of Congo, have you sent me a draft resolution?
That's been sent by another delegate in the block.
Okay. Okay, I got it. The problem is that I don't see a draft resolution from your blog. Okay, got it. Thank you. My apologies. It's just they're all mixed up. So draft resolution 1.3. Okay, so delegates, we have 4 draft resolutions on the table. Well, technically we have 5 draft resolutions, but 2 of them we will end up ruling out because they're not exactly draft resolutions. David, are you with me?
I'm with you, but I don't know which draft resolutions
Yeah, I'm
you
just
have.
sharing the screen and then we'll go through that together.
Part of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Does that mean the draft resolutions which have been dropped have been tabled and these ones have been accepted by the dais?
Delegate will let you know once. Yeah, so technically that is how it works, I know. But for the sake of a critique and for the sake of the committee, what we'll be doing is we'll be going through them simultaneously, like before we introduce them. And before we introduce them, we'll let you know which ones we're tabling from the days. So David, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so delegates, whoever was part of this particular draft resolution, we see the signatories, which are Argentina, Austria, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Finland, Netherlands, United States of America, South Africa, and Singapore. You guys can unmute yourselves while I'm giving the critique on what is wrong with this particular draft resolution. So the first and the foremost important thing, the fact that you've added a full stop here, right here, means that this is where your draft resolution ends. We're not even supposed to read it any further. But for the sake of your learning, I'll finish it. We won't be considering that as a fault right now, which is something conventional MUNs don't let go. But I and David will forego it for the sake of your learning. So other than that, this seems okay. It's not very bad, to be honest. It could have been better, very much better. And this is like, it's a fine. It's a good, well-structured, how do I put it? Well-structured draft resolution, but again, it could have been much better, right? Okay, so this is the one we're not tabling. We're not tabling draft resolution 1.1. On that note, I'll be sharing the other one in a second. Okay. Okay, so draft resolution 1.2 has the same issue. You're not supposed to put a full stop anywhere but at the end of a draft resolution. The signatories are not in alphabetical order, which is again something I'll forego because I believe that's okay. It's fine. It doesn't matter that much.
Sure.
And
Can
yes,
you,
delegate.
are you going to scroll it to the bottom?
I'm sorry, delegate, I don't get you.
The resolution that it is shared in the screen, are you going to scroll it until the last page?
Yes, delegate, I'm going to go through it throughout the draft resolution. Yes. So
one more thing,
formatting.
excuse me.
Yes, delegate.
So I have joined just recently, and I'm representing Syria, and I have some questions. And here in signatories, Syria does not exist. So can I
Delegate, do
ask?
you want yourself to be added to the draft resolution that is on the screen?
Yes, I would like, because it is interesting, and I want to see the rest of the draft resolution. And
okay, delegate.
In that matters.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I was going to say that, well, as mentioned before, some countries didn't
That's okay,
work.
delegate. I acknowledge that. I get where you're coming from, so that's
Excuse me.
completely fine. It's okay. We totally get that.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Yes, delegate.
Can I add it to this resolution?
Delegate, once we've introduced and we are going to read them out, you can. For now, we're just going through the format before we make sure that we're not going to table any of them. I hope you understand.
Can I just make a comment, Naksh, on
Yes,
the
yes, sure,
preambulatories?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you go up? Can you go up a little bit? The first one, expressing grave concern on the procurement of vaccine. I don't know if it's like a grammatic English wise thing, but the meaning of that sentence is that you're concerned about the prospect that a vaccine will be developed. I don't think that's what you meant. Correct?
That is,
We actually meant that for the development of vaccine, not the like, not in a very negative way.
Right, right.
Let's
so how
just change that, because that would just cause problems while reading it out.
expressing grave concern.
Develop.
I'm trying to think of a better.
That seems weirdly incoherent.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Aren't the preamps supposed to be either underlined or italicized?
Delegate, the format that we sent you, that clearly stated that the preamps should be bolded and the operative clauses should be underlined.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem, delegate. On that note, till David comes up with a word for the hair, we can just continue and go through the whole draft resolution. So thus far, it seems fine. Again, delegates, I made it clear that operative clauses are supposed to end with semicolons.
It's just that, well, we consider that we bear that in mind. However, the operative clause there finishes in the last sentence of all the.
Yeah, delegate, I'm not talking about this particular one. I'm just specifying. I do know that the sub clauses are ending with comma and the last sub clause is always ending with semicolon. I just wanted to make sure that you guys took note of that. This is not that was not default in this. I was just specifying.
Thanks.
Okay, so Also, delegates, you have not, you shouldn't have italicized the operative clauses. That was not done in the format. But again, this is something I might let go because again, we're trying to be as positive as possible here.
Naksh, can you go? Can you back? Can you go back to the end? To the to the last.
There needs to be a full stop in the end.
Full stop, delegate. Yes.
So sorry.
I'm not sure that describing the USA as being in a state of anarchy is the correct term.
Due to rise in protest, race struggle. Yeah, this is something that's kind of like an attack towards their sovereignty again, kind of. So.
Right.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Just on the preamps topic, it states in the H1 2019 rules that you sent that each clause in the preamble begins with an italicized or underlined word or phrase. So, I mean, they've emboldened
Delegate,
as well.
that is, yeah. So the thing is that that differed from, wait, I'll tell you what I meant. So there was a sample draft resolution right next to it, right?
Yeah.
And that clearly had boldened the preambulatory clauses and had underlined the operative clauses. And that is what we asked you guys to follow. If it's okay if you followed the one that is in the written form, we will still, we will accept that as well, because we believe that it's okay if you guys followed the instruction in that way. But we specifically said that you have to follow the sample draft resolution that was given. But it's okay, don't worry.
Thank you so much.
Delegates, do keep something in mind whenever we take, like when we accept a draft resolution, little to zero, marking goes into whether the format is correct or not. I think the bulk of the marking is just dependent on the content that goes into the draft resolution. The format, it keeps changing with chairs, it keeps changing with committees, with ROPs, and with different societies as well. So it barely matters as to what, like how you're expressing the like the preamps or the operatives. It really matters what goes into the preamps and the operatives. So yeah, I think
and also
that
the
is,
fact that that is again something varying. However, the things such as no full stops is a more concerning thing in a draft resolution, because that is the main part of any draft resolution, that it should not contain any full stops at all except for at the end. So that needs to be looked into, otherwise it's okay. So this was Abhiraj, go on.
The provisional UN format again is completely different from everything we do in MUN. So like in the provisional UN format, if you're quoting one document or something, you can't just recall the document. You also have to add a footnote as to when the document was last recalled in which session of which committee. So all I'm saying is that the format keeps changing. It doesn't really matter what the exact format is, because there is no exact format.
Okay, so we have the draft resolution 1.3 here, which is this draft resolution. And this is again a good draft resolution. I don't see any problems as of yet. Where is the member states? Okay. So delegate, for whoever prepared this particular draft resolution, just know that just for the sake of telling you guys, once you introduce a subclause of a operative clause, you have to add commas until it is the last subclause of your operative clause. So basically, this is one subclause which should have had a comma, and the last subclause should contain a semicolon. That is something I'm just telling you guys for your help. Otherwise, it's okay. So this is an issue here.
3 and 4. Sorry. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah. You could continue. I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, 3 and 4. Each clause needs to begin with a verb.
And you should have either boldened it or underlined it. You've changed that system, right? So, and this ends again with not a semicolon. and there's no commas, but these are things I'm foregoing for the sake of this committee. Usually I don't.
Delegate, clause 4 has a problem. Clause 4 technically can't be on the resolution because you're essentially doing an Article 2 clause 7 violation, because you're calling upon a particular state to carry out something which cannot be done in like especially in an ESS. Maybe it could have been done in the Security Council, but not in like even this couldn't have been done in the Security Council.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
I believe we should just remove this clause.
Delegates, this is not very important a thing that you have to keep in mind, but the ESS is technically like it's disbanded immediately after it's passed a resolution. So there's no way it can keep meeting on the same topic. So they can't technically decide to remain actively seized on matters. That's only something that the Security Council does. So
I have a question on that. But can't, like, after the resolutions have passed, can't we unite for peace in this very committee and like have the entire
right.
mandate be similar to that?
No, so essentially what happens is after, and you can like for references, you can actually check up the previous 10 ESSs that have happened in the world. Like this is technically the 11th ESS that was simulating, but there have been 10 ESSs prior to this, right? So you can check up the documentation that they pass. Every time the ESS meets and it disbands, the ESS is never called again unless another Security Council meeting has failed so that an ESS can be initiated. So an ESS is simply a one-time meeting. Like it's a very consequential one-time meeting. The last ESS took place in like, I think if I'm not getting it wrong, 2009. It took place with regard to the Israel-Palestine, the settlement problem.
Right.
Okay,
Sorry?
Delegate, before you take the point of parliamentary inquiry, just to let you know, so I believe, as far as I know, and I've had my fair share of experience, not obviously not a lot, but again, any committee does not directly decide on something, right? You have to promote or endorse something, not decide on something. Okay, so just letting you know that that's how it works.
Nux, the last clause is like, you know, the last clause, I'm sorry to rebut you on that, but the last clause is very particularly like a Security Council clause, wherein the Security Council decides to follow
But
up
like
with
that
a
is again
particular
the
yeah.
I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So okay, let it be. Okay.
I mean, let it be. The last
okay.
clause, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
This is again a clause that we are not so sure about. I don't believe it should be here.
Do the delegates, do you understand why it's a problematic clause?
Yes. I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Congo.
I have actually 2 points of parliamentary inquiry. The first one is that would amendments to this resolution be in order?
Naksh, what are we doing about
Sorry, delegate. We don't have enough time. We have only literally 7 minutes to end the session. And in that capacity, we will not be entertaining amendments at this time. We're not even going in the full introduction and discussion of the draft resolutions. That is the reason I'm going through every draft resolution now, so we know which ones to table and which ones to vote upon directly.
Could I just say something about that?
Yes, delegate.
I just wanted to say that, like in none of these draft resolutions, it's mentioned that all the virus outbreaks constitute a threat to international peace and security. So I think if we do need the United Nations to take some type of action, we do need to mention that clause as well.
Can I reply to that? I think that clause is mentioned in a draft resolution 1.2. It's not mentioned at the very first clause, but it's mentioned in between clauses. So the clauses like got messed up.
Just let me check, delegates.
Because I particularly remember adding 3-4 clauses regarding coronavirus and UN's
So
statement.
yeah, it
Delegate,
says the need for protective alternative mechanisms. Yeah, you can continue.
Delegates, one word of advice if you're doing other committees based on a crisis with regard to the COVID-19, in case you're making a draft resolution with regard to defining whether the COVID is a threat to international peace and security or not, you don't have to technically do it because pandemics as threats to international peace and security has already been done by the Security Council. So what you can do is you can recall that particular resolution in the preamps. So you're already defining COVID as a threat to international peace and security. So that's a hack you can use.
And on that note, delegates, we have 2 draft resolutions that are out of order that are not even going to stay on the table. One being this somehow mentioned as the draft resolution. I'm sorry, but I cannot accommodate that, which is draft resolution 1.4, I presume. Yes, this one is 1.4. So that would not be up for voting because it is presented, even if it was presented by one person, it should have been at least a draft resolution somehow. It is not. I apologize, but it is not. So that is again out of order. And then we have a draft resolution 1.5 that has the same error. So for the sake of this committee, I won't, well, if Abhiraj or David, you believe we should even consider them, we can, but again, I don't. Because
which one is
so this has literally nothing to it. This is all that is. This is all.
I mean, okay, which delegate is this by? Which delegate has written this particular draft resolution?
I'm not even sure. Let me check. So
Delegate,
this
if you're
one, I
writing a draft
think,
resolution,
yes, this is by the African delegates somehow.
okay, just for the sake of clarification, which delegate was primarily responsible for writing this? Because I believe some feedback is required.
Okay, so we'll start with the voting procedures now, delegates, because we don't have enough time. The executives are literally on our tail at this moment.
I
We have
point
taken enough time. Yes, delegate.
before that, are we allowed to have a 2 minutes unmoderated caucus if we want to merge our resolutions because we don't see any clear-cut contentions between both of them?
So delegates, we don't have that much time, but okay, so 5 minutes max. That's it. 5 minutes is again a lot more than we can accommodate. How about we take 2 speakers from both blocks who have created these draft resolutions, 1.2 and 1.3, I presume.
So basically, can I just say something before we raise this motion? I think we don't specifically have both of the resolutions, and so I haven't read them properly to understand the point of contentions that are provided into the resolution. So I don't think that would be very useful to wait. We'll go back into circles.
So delegates, what we can do is, if say you don't have a point of contention here, for those of you who were part of, say, the draft resolution 1.3, can vote on draft resolution 1.2 since you guys feel like you don't have a point of contention. Okay, and we'll consider that as a kind of a merger because we literally don't have time. Does that seem okay?
Yeah, that seems okay.
So Abhiraj,
just one question.
Yes, delegate, whoever that is.
Yeah, Slovenia. For draft resolution 1.2, some countries were not able to add their signatures to
Delegates,
it.
that's completely fine. If you guys were in support of it, just vote on it when we start with the voting procedures, okay?
Okay.
So on that note, delegates, before we start voting, we obviously need to close the debate. So are there any points or motions on the floor? Abhiraj, do you have anything to add before we continue?
Nothing at the moment. If you do need some if you do need some feedback on what a draft, where the drafts are going wrong, what you need to add in them, or how it violates the mandate of the committee, we can do that after the conference is over. So yeah, so nothing
Yeah,
to
yeah.
add at the
We'll
moment.
have a short meeting for you guys, and we'll even have an entertainment session for that sake.
Okay.
Okay, so in that capacity, are there any points or motions on the floor? Delegate of Morocco.
Yes, I think there is a misunderstanding. Yeah, sorry. I raise a motion to close the debate.
That motion is in order and passes with the discretion of the days. Now we'll be going on to the voting procedures. Before we do that, David, Abhiraj, do you want to go with the 2/3 majority or one
Point of
simple majority?
parliamentary inquiry just before that.
Yes, delegate. Yes, delegate.
Can we have a vote of the opposing bloc of who want to merge the draft resolutions and who don't? Because I'm getting messages by a couple of them who are in the other ones who want to merge with us, and only one or two people don't want to do so. So if we can do that, can we just have that speech
So,
thing?
delegate, the thing is, in that case, just listen me out. That is what I meant. So if, say, there's a certain delegate who believes that both resolutions have no point of contentions or have equally good points, they can vote on both, right? Or at least once we're voting on one of them, that means we're voting on both of them technically if we had a merger, right? So just vote when we're voting upon it, right? Just make note of that, because literally, delegate, we cannot have a single minute extra at this point, because we have to give the list for the Joint Crisis Committee, followed by the Joint Crisis Committee as well.
Yeah, I totally understand.
So
Thank you.
please do understand that. Thank you. So
Thank you.
delegates, right now, okay, so Abhiraj, do you want to go with the 2/3 majority or a simple majority?
Considering the fact that we have clauses where we call upon international peace and cooperation, and we call upon ceasefires, this is already a matter of international security as per the guidelines of the Security Council and the General Assembly. So we have to go for a 2/3 majority.
Yeah. So on that
I agree.
note, delegate, our 2/3 majority will be 44 for this session. Since we've already closed the debate, we'll now be voting upon in order of, we'll be taking motions for vote. So are there any points or motions on the floor? Delegate of Austria.
Delegate of Austria would like to make a motion to vote upon.
Delegate, we cannot hear you.
Delegate of Austria would like to raise a motion to vote upon draft resolution 1.1 and 1.2 simultaneously.
So delegate, okay. 1.1 is the draft resolution that was brought in by the delegate of United States and the delegate of Finland and all those delegates. Are you sure you want to start voting on that as well?
Will the dais be entertaining more motions after the motion that I raised?
So yeah, we will be.
So basically, yeah, I would like to change my motion to vote upon draft resolution 1.2.
Vote upon draft resolution 1.2. That motion is in order. Are there any other points or motions on the floor, delegates? Delegate of Congo.
The delegation of Congo would like to rearrange draft resolution 1.4 with draft resolution 1.3.
1.4 with 1.3. Delegate, we do not have any draft resolution 1.4. We have 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3.
1.3 with 1.3 with 1.1.
1.3 with 1.1, and would like to vote on that, right?
Yes.
So in order of precedence, delegates will be first voting upon the motion raised by the delegate of Congo, since they've rearranged. They've motion to rearrange draft resolution 1.1, 1.3 to 1.1. For this motion, we need a simple majority that would be 34. So all those in favor of this motion, please raise your hands. We will need 34 votes to pass this motion before we start voting on this resolution?
Chair, it is the motion for the draft resolution 1.3.
Delegate, it's not for the vote. It is the motion to rearrange draft resolution 1.3 to draft resolution 1.1.
Okay, thank you for your acceleration.
Okay.
Delegates, we're giving you 1 minute before we finalize whether we pass or fail this motion. That motion tends to fail. So what now we'll be voting upon the motion raised by the honorable delegate of Austria, that is to vote on draft resolution 1.2. For all those in favor, we need you need to raise your placards. This motion will need a simple majority to pass. The draft resolution will need a 2/3 majority to pass. Thus, this motion passes. We'll now be voting upon the draft resolution 1.2. Just give me a second, delegates. Yes. So we'll now be voting upon the draft resolution 1.2. Delegates, please lower down all your hands before we start voting. Note that to pass this draft resolution, we need 44 votes. I literally just said to lower down your hands and I did it myself. Do not raise your hands before I tell you to do so, delegates.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, delegate.
Will we be voting per roll call or will we be voting collectively as a committee?
Delegate will be voting with the raise of hands because we cannot go with the roll call procedure of voting at this time. On that note, delegates will be voting upon resolution 1.2. We need 44 votes to pass this resolution. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Delegates, I'll be giving you 1 more minute before I tell whether this draft resolution passes or not. We're voting upon draft resolution 1.2. That is, this draft resolution passes, delegates.
Yes.
We had exactly 44 votes somehow.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, on that note, delegates, you're supposed to leave this meeting right now. Just leave. For those of you who understand Urdu, bahar niklo, please. David, could you send the award list that I sent you to Fawad Bhai?
Sorry. So
Sorry,
people who won this one should leave.
Wait. So delegates, just stay for a minute if you haven't already left.
Yeah, okay.
We'll be announcing the few delegates that will be going for the Joint Crisis Committee because we cannot obviously accommodate all delegates. Just give us a second. Okay, so delegates, we have a few delegates who will be going for the Joint Crisis Committee. I'll be announcing your countries. Make sure to note them. Make sure that you note your, that you be part of the Joint Crisis Committee. We have the delegate of Congo, the delegate of Mexico, the delegate of Austria, Zimbabwe, United Kingdom, Canada, Philippines, Ghana, South Sudan, United States of America, Namibia, Oman, South Africa, Tanzania, and Madagascar. These are the countries that will be going for the debate for the Joint Crisis Committee now. Kindly make note of that. We'll write them down in the chat as well, so you guys know that you have to be in the Joint Crisis room for the debate. Got it?
And the rest should leave, right?
This you have to leave this room anyways, because for Joint Crisis Committee will be joining another meeting, not this one.
Okay.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, please.
Yes, Delegate.
Yeah, are we
Does
going
it
to
have-
have the link to join the
Yes,
crisis
Delegate.
committee?
The advisor or the Secretary General will make sure to send that in a few minutes.
Okay, so we should be waiting for it in the WhatsApp group, yeah?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Liz, I have a question.
Yes, Delegate.
We're done now.
Yes, Delegate. For this session, for our debate, you're done. For those of you who been selected for the Joint Crisis Committee, you guys have to obviously debate for that as well once you're in there. So I'm sending in the link. You guys can join that meeting for the Joint Crisis Committee.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, please.
Thank you.
Yes, Delegate.
Yeah, in respect to the last country you called, was it Namibia or Gambia? Just for clarification.
It was Namibia.
All right, thank you.
Namibia. Okay, it's Namibia. Yes, it is.
Just a question.
Yes, Delegate.
For the countries who were not added in the signatures, just voting by raising hand for them is enough, right?
Sorry, Delegate.
For countries who were not added in the signatures for the draft resolutions, you said that we just need to vote for them, and that's okay.
Yes, Delegate. That's totally fine.
Okay. Thank you.
So, delegates, you can leave. The days just needs a little bit discussion before we enter the Joint Crisis Committee. So please leave. I'm saying that very gently as if you had.
Oh, really?
The delegate of Oman is also part of the Joint Crisis Committee. I think I didn't call that out. Okay, so delegates, I request you all to leave before I kick you out.
Those that were not listed, what are they to do now? Those that were not listed, what are they to do?
Sorry?
I said those that were not on the list of those that have to go out, what are they to do?
Delegates, you can spectate for the Joint Crisis Committee, and all of you who are still here, just make sure when you enter the other room, you may write your council names in front of that. So you're part of UNGAESS, so make sure you write that in front of your country so that it is easier for the executives to recognize you guys. Why is there's a chime sound whenever I kick someone out?
You can remove individuals like yourself, right?
Yeah,
From the...
that's what I'm doing, and there's a chime
Oh.
sound every time I do it.
Are we also supposed to join them now?
Yeah, we'll just join in a sec.
Okay.
Okay, so I sent in the list to Fawad bhai. Just check if we need to add someone or
He
remove
wants
someone.
it. He wants it categorized, I think.
Okay, so yeah, I'll do that. We have only 3 ODs, so that won't be problem. Do you guys want to add anyone to the ODs? Vaise I don't, honestly.
Not that I can think of.
Okay, just let's go with this list. It won't be a problem. The other committee is only 2 ODs, wow, but they have the leverage to have best position paper award as well.
All right, so for the people who are selected for the JCC, can you just post the list on the group once?
Yeah, I was gonna do that.
Because
Just give me
everybody
a
is
sec.
absolutely confused as to what's going on.
And they're literally texting me. Yeah, I think we now have to join the other session. Honestly, the fact that we passed a resolution is making me laugh out loud.
Massive. How did we do this? All right.
How did we make it here?
With a lot of
Okay,
corner cutting.
so I have formulated like a bit of a crisis. All right. So I'm gonna send this doc right over to you guys on the WhatsApp group, and just check it out and tell me whether this makes sense or not. Like, just quickly read through it because I think we're running on a really tight schedule here.
Oh shit.
What happened?
Kill me. Somebody kill me. I accidentally sent the wrong OD list. Like I added the wrong one.
The group.
I didn't send it to the delegates group. I accidentally sent the wrong delegates to the group.
What? Okay, never mind.
It's not
Okay,
a big
so-
fault, thank God.
Yeah, check the JCC out, and what I'll be doing is I'll be adding to this as and when the JCC evolves. So I'm going to turn this into a continuous crisis.
Okay, that's good. Honestly, some of our delegates thought our committee was a continuous crisis as well.
Yeah, but the crisis wasn't
We
that
couldn't.
continuous.
We couldn't have kept it continuous. The committee would have failed way worse than it already did. It isn't.
I mean-
For me, it never passed. Honestly.
It was a continuous crisis, but in a different sense.
Yeah, it was a crisis for us. It was literally the crisis for us. Anyways, let's join the other meeting before Fawad Bhai kills us, literally.
Yeah, just tell Fawad that I'm joining in a bit. I'll just write something a little nice on the group because everyone's like, oh, if we're not selected, are we supposed to leave? So
Yeah, I
don't
just
know.
do that, and till then we'll join. Bye.
Yeah, just do one thing, which is just send me the link on the like our group.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
The controversial ESS group, in short. Yeah, I just almost sent it. Where did the group go? Wow.
Also check out the crisis scenario.
Yeah, I'll do that. And join the, wait. What am I doing for goodness sakes? I'm being so random here. Okay, I've sent it now. I'm ending this meeting and then I'll see you in the other one.